Hundreds of people showed up to a Black Lives Matter peaceful protest that started in front of Newton's police headquarters before protesters marched down Washington Street. Angry, frustrated, and eager for change. After being cooped up in their houses for so long due to COVID-19 quarantine, Newton residents were ready to take action. With their masks on and their posters held high, they demanded justice for all of those who have fallen victim to police brutality.
My intuition is that people are struggling. People are out of work. People are losing relatives. There's at least mild awareness in the white communities around Boston that these things are affecting our Black neighbors worse. So I think that as a backdrop probably amplified or ignited a spark that was already there.
The rally comes after George Floyd was killed on May 25th at the hands of Minnesota law enforcement. Derek Chauvin, one of the 4 police officers who arrested Mr. Floyd, held him down and knelt on his neck for a total of 8 minutes and 46 seconds, suffocating him. The video of the incident has circulated the media for weeks, igniting an explosion of protests all over the country. The normally quiet streets of Newton were awakened by the sounds of protests. The crowd stood on the sidewalks, remaining peaceful, as drivers honked their horns in support of the demonstrators. In an incident that hit extremely close to home, the Newton police stopped a Black man at gunpoint just 5 days before the murder of Mr. Floyd. Tim Duncan, the athletic director at the University of New Orleans and a Newton resident, said he was stopped during a walk with his wife not too far from their home.
It's not okay that just because I'm a tall Black man walking 1 block from his house that I'm pulled over and say I fit a profile of a murder suspect just because he was tall. And I understand the police have to do their job, trust me, they do. But to roll down on me with the guns drawn when I'm walking on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon with my wife is uncalled for. And it's uncalled for that George Floyd had a knee on his neck for 8 minutes and I think 46 seconds.
Newton Police Chief David McDonald couldn't comment on the incident, which is now being investigated, but what he could comment on was the way Newton police recruits are trained.
At the recruit level, police officers have a pretty intense 20-week curriculum. Included among that curriculum is, besides legal and constitutional issues, there are issues around subconscious bias and de-escalation and use of force training. So they get a lot of important training at the recruit level, which is supplemented as their careers go by. We have a different curriculum at mandatory in-service training every year, and it includes all kinds of things that unfortunately are part of our society today, such as active shooter training and other things of that nature.
It was true that there was a suspect that looked just like him that was wanted for murder on the exact same block where he happened to be. But no matter, his voice, his words are so important. We have to be so careful to make sure we're never doing racial profiling.
After police closed down Washington Street, the demonstrators gathered. They knelt on one knee for a total of 8 minutes and 46 seconds to honor Mr. Floyd's memory and all victims of systemic racism, discrimination, and police brutality.
So I think one thing that's really powerful is to actually physically kneel for 8 minutes and 46 seconds and to actually feel how long that is, right? It is a long time. It is not something that happens by accident. And we know that George Floyd stopped responding 6 minutes in. So there was 2.5 minutes still on the ground. It's a long time. Your knees hurt when you kneel for that long. And to feel that physically in your body, I think is a really powerful reminder of exactly how intentional this particular murder was.
The amount of people showing their support was overwhelming.
What I was really hoping was to get, maybe a couple hundred people to line up and to just create some visible awareness of what was going on and rally some support from inside Newton. Of course, many more people than that showed up. Naturally, just like all of the protests that are organized, we hoped that it would remain peaceful. We were confident that it would. I really had no concerns at any point.
I am so proud of our citizens and residents here in Newton. They showed up in large numbers and they spoke up and they all together proclaimed Black Lives Matter.
In Mrs. Wells' Facebook group, #LineUpNewton, she instructed the participants to respect each other's space and voices.
We did invite white folks to just remain silent. I think at this particular moment in time, particularly in a predominantly white community, we need to make space for Black folks to speak if they want to, or to not speak if they don't want to.
Newton police went into the protest aiming to remain calm.
What we wanted to do is we wanted to be here. We wanted to do three things. We wanted to show support for important messaging. We also didn't want to put a perception of too much authoritarianism around. So police officers have been secreted pretty much under low key. And we wanted everyone to be safe. And at this point in time, all three of those things have been executed successfully.
It was great to see the younger generation of Europeans or white people be the strong energy of the protest.
A lot of people brought their kids out. I saw babies in strollers and front carriers all the way up to the high school kids there. One moment that stood out for me, I have an 11, almost 12-year-old daughter, and someone was there with a cart giving out water, and there were pictures of different people who had been killed by police officers, and Tamir Rice was right in the front, in the middle, and she had the ages. Rice was like Tamir Rice, age 12. She said, like, "Mommy, the police kill kids." Like, yes. Right. And I don't think she didn't know about Tamir Rice. We had talked about other people, but we hadn't talked about him in particular. And I think that sort of drove home just how awful it is that, like, they're killing kids, little kids, like kids her age.
One Newton resident finds the reality of the world we are now living in to be quite alarming.
A fish doesn't know that they live in water until they get out of the water.
But the chief says it's up to residents to change it right here in Newton.
At this point in time, it's very important to keep open ears and open dialogue with people from all different parts of our city who represent all kinds of different interests, because we can all learn from each other. And I want to ensure that the people who come to Newton to worship, to travel, to utilize our resources, and of course the residents who live here, our goal is to give equal policing to all and to attempt to keep everyone safe.
This is Maxine Friedman for Newton News in West Newton.